Hi, good morning. It's Katie from Food for the Ages. Today we're going to make velvet crumb cake, which involves Bisquick. It's a recipe I grew up eating. It was one of the great things that my mother made for us. But I'm going to make the flavors a little more adult so that they fit my taste buds today at age 58. So I'm toasting some pecans. It says, it calls for a half cup of nuts. I'm using pecans and I'm toasting them. Everything else will be as is in the recipe. The shortening, I'll use butter, and we'll see how it turns out. Thanks for joining me. Melting the butter and toasting the almonds. Welcome to my tiny kitchen where there's never enough room for anything. I have, in lieu of shortening, I'm using 2 tablespoons of melted butter. I'm trying to bring it up to some kind of adult taste that I'm going to like. I remember the velvet crumb cake well, but as with many childhood flavors, sometimes you can grow out of the original flavor, so make sure you're adding some flavors that appeal to your adult tastes. Among them, toasted pecans for the nuts in the recipe. I'm using some nice open nature cage-free eggs. I always use and mix up my own Bob's Red Mill non-fat milk powder. It's cheap and it's a premium quality, and you can mix as much as you need so your milk never goes bad in the fridge. So I recommend that. We're using Bisquick today, which is one of those fun baking mixes that some of us grew up with here in this country. So now if you'll come over here and take a look, you can see we've got all the ingredients in here. I'm going to add the butter. So now we've got an egg, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1½ cups original Bisquick mix, a ½ cup of granulated sugar, a ½ cup of the Bob's Red Mill non-fat milk, 2 tablespoons of butter, I already said that, a teaspoon of vanilla, and an egg. So now I'm going to mix this. It says I'm using the BettyCrocker.com recipe, and I will link my video to it. So it says to beat on low speed for 30 seconds and then medium for 4 minutes. So I'm going to use my immersion blender for this. And this is just to get the ingredients incorporated. Now I'm going to go to my 4 minutes on my fire speed on my immersion blender. So after a few minutes, it says 4 minutes with an immersion blender. We're ready to pour it in the bowl. You can hear the oven's ready to go. It's begging me to set the timer. Okay. Hopefully this will rise to a good level in this big bowl. Called for an 8 or 9 inch pan, and I just have this one, so I'm using this. Remember to always put your immersion blender into a pan of hot soapy water. Here we go, folks. Okay, let's set the timer. Should be 30 minutes. And start. And bake and start. So, we're ready to go. And next we'll make the topping. So here we've got the topping mixture. I've got a ½ cup of toasted pecans, a ½ cup of coconut, a 1/3 cup packed brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of butter, softened, and I've got 2 tablespoons of milk I'm going to add. When the cake is ready and finished, I'm going to broil this topping on top of the cake for a few minutes. Look, it's rising in there. So this recipe is no longer found on the back of a Bisquick box. It's at bettycrocker.com under Bisquick Velvet Crumb Cake. So that's where you'll find it. When we were kids, it was on the back of that box, but now everything's different, right? But you can still find this recipe. So this is our coconut nut butter and brown sugar topping, which should be spectac, as it was when I was a child. I did not take into account altitude, so it looks a little sinky in the center, but never fear, you can always correct cakes as long as they're cooked through in the middle to make them look better, if that's your goal. Okay, so now I'm going to pop this in to my rotating roast setting at 450 in here, and I'm just going to let it get dark on top so that this topping really seeps in, and it's only going to take a couple minutes. We're going to really get that buttery brown sugar, coconut, and toasted pecan flavor into the cake now. And it's really it's a comfort food cake is what it is, and it's a great one. I have many fond recollections of eating this cake, and it's one of the things my mother made well. So here we go with our velvet crumb cake. This is great to serve at either breakfast or after dinner. Oops, it's a little crumbly. It'll firm up a little once we have let it set, but who wants to eat it cold? Nobody, even though it's great cold. Let me take a bite and we'll see if it's still as good as it was many, many years ago. Smells delicious. Yes, it is. Recommend. See the recipe link at foodfortheages.com and enjoy. You want to